So I'm pretty excited that I get to interview Mr. Bob Tiffin himself. And let's just get down to the nitty-gritty and find out, where did Bob come from? Mr. Bob, we are so excited to have you here today. Tell us, you grew up in Red Bay, Alabama, and where did it all begin?
Yes, ma'am. I grew up about 3 blocks from here in downtown Red Bay, which back then was 2,500 people. And Mother and Daddy lived in a little house up here, right about 1 block from the city hall. And I grew up there, and we had a great time growing up. We had the best time playing with the playmates. We had 2 best friends that lived across the street from us, and then we had Felton and Orley Gold that lived next door. And I just grew up like anybody else. And my brother David, he was 2 years younger. We all grew up here right in town. We lived right here in the middle of town till 1952 when Daddy built a new house out in the country, I thought, but it was only a mile away from town. So it was not long, not far. But you know, we did move away from our friends then because they all lived right here, and of course we lived out that way. And so, but you know, those friends are still with us today. We've lost a couple of them, they passed away, but we have a lot of good people here in Red Bay, Alabama, and I grew up in the midst of all of them.
And so what I want to know is how you decided that you would go. Now, you were in the hardware store with your dad, I think. I'm
Yes.
saying that right? And then you decided motorhomes, camping, RVing. What made you decide to do that? What was your drive?
Well, before we started, you know, I worked with Tiffin Supply Company. My dad, he started the business in 1941, so that business has been around a long time. And I grew up in that business, and I can remember being at Tiffin Supply Company. Back then we just called it the store, in the late 40s, you know, after the war. And I can remember what took place in 48 and 49 and 50 along in there, and I spent a lot of time down there. He had a real good candy bar and a candy counter, and so I'd go down there and eat candy every evening after school till I started playing sports. And I just had a good time growing up in the store. And we even had a peddling truck, a rolling store. And we went out in the country, and mainly in Franklin County here where we live. And 2 summers I rode that peddling truck every day for 2 weeks. And we had a great time. And of course I saw some of our customers that would come to the store on that peddling truck. And so I really enjoyed working with my dad and the people at the store, and we just had a great time. I don't know, about 1964, after Judy and I married and had some children, and of course I was still working with my dad at Tiffin Supply Company. We had 3 RV companies to move in Red Bay. One was Commodore, and they were based in Omaha, Nebraska, and Elkhart, Indiana. And then they stayed here 4 or 5 years, and they were over here where Sunshine Homes is at. And they left, and then we had Sunliner Motorhomes were built down at Tremont, about 20 miles south, and Safari Motorhomes was built at Iuka, about 25 miles north. And so we sold those guys a lot of stuff because they all live here in town, and they would come by the store every morning and every afternoon to get what they needed to finish the day out the day before. That's just what always happens in this business. You are always running out of something. And so I got acquainted with what they were doing, and when they all went out of business and they left, 1965, we bought a cotton gin here in town. And so Dad just told me, he said, well, you're going to have to run the cotton gin. Our ginner's left. He's living in Tupelo now. I said, well, I don't know about too much about ginning, but I'd learn. And so I was just 23 years old, and I started running the cotton gin. And we had 2 warehouses. About 4 or 5 years after that, we had so much cotton, we had to build another warehouse, and that's where the cabinet shop is now. And so Dad said, well, what are we going to do with all that room? I said, well, we need to build motorhomes. He said, build motorhomes? Why in the world do you want to build motorhomes for? I said, well, I think it'd be a good business to be in. He asked me, he said, do you think you can run it? I said, I think I can. And that was 50-something years ago.
And I think you can, because you've got an amazing facility here, and you have built phenomenal products, and you've got customers all over the globe that love and enjoy traveling in your coaches, which become their homes.
Sure. That complexion of the business really has changed. When we started, they were small motorhomes, you know, 21 and a 23-footer and 25-footer is all we had. But now, you know, the motorhomes got so much larger, and we have so many people that live full-time in them. I talk to them every day. And of course, as time went on, you know, we had to start doing a lot of service. Any given year, we'll put 100 to 150 motorhomes a week through the service department. Of course, it's not that speedy right now, but when things are normal, we average about 5,000 units a year through the service department when things are normal.
And I think a lot of people that we talk to out there, they don't realize that they can come right here to Red Bay, Alabama to get their motorhome serviced rather than take it back to the dealership, which I think is a great thing for people to know, that they can come here where people actually know your motorhomes inside and out.
Yes, if I owned a motorhome that costs as much as this, I would be tickled to death if I thought I could take it back to the factory and get it serviced. And of course, we see that all the time. You know, the dealers do a good job of delivering the motorhome to our owners, but then if they got much of a problem, they need to come here and let us work on it at the factory where we really know what to do and can fix their problems most of the time.
Absolutely. And what I saw yesterday, we got to tour the shop outside with Barry, is that you can see that people really are invested in what they're doing, building your motorhomes, and they love what they're doing.
Yes, that's important. You have good people that work for you that like their job.
Now, Judy, does she come in and she decides some of the decor, and what's her part in all of that?
Well, back early she worked every day, and back then we were just getting started. We didn't know too much, but she had a real good eye for color. And so when the guys were bringing the samples in for the fabric that we were going to use and the other, the paneling and the what you see inside the motorhome, she would pick it out. And she started doing that in 1972 when we first started. And she did it for many, many years. And then, of course, I don't know, about 15 years ago, we moved to Florence. And she just started easing off the job. And that's okay. We've got a real good crew that does a great job selecting the colors. And the lady that does the most of that work her name is Margaret Mills. She's a wonderful person, and she's been working for us for a long time now. Margaret does a great job, and of course we're all getting a little older, but we can't let her retire.
No sense in retiring, right?
No.
And that's what I see. Your whole family. We've met everyone from Lee to Van to Trent. So your family business that you started is still a family business, really. Yes, everyone is here.
Yeah, we have 5 Tiffins working here. And my oldest son, he worked here till he retired. He's retired. He lives in Tuscaloosa now.
Is that Trent's daddy, your oldest son?
Yes, he has 4 children. He has Trent and Brock. Brock is in New York, and Hannah and Laurel. Hannah lives in Winfield and works at the Winfield plant, and Laura is in Colorado. And then, of course, Van's here, and he's our quality control manager. He does a great job with that. Van is really, really unique guy. He really knows how to repair things, and he knows how to dig down to the very bottom of what's going wrong and repair it and find out why it broke.
And it's funny that you say that, because yesterday when we were touring the plant, we met Van inside of Zephyr.
Yeah.
And he was in there, he's working. Yeah. He's not just sitting behind a desk telling people what to do. He was dirty. He was in there working on that Zephyr himself.
He hadn't changed a bit since he was 4 years old. When we get him a toy, he didn't keep it long because he wanted to see how it worked. So he'd take it apart, see if he could put it back together. And that's the truth. He tore up everything he ever had to see if he could fix it.
So you knew you had the right guy working inside that Zephyr then.
One day I went home at lunch and we got him a new bicycle. And so he wanted to see how it acted when he wrecked. He wrecked the thing 4 or 5 times. And it looked like he'd went through the war.
Did you also play football?
I played at Red Bay some. I played up here 3 or 4 years, and I enjoyed playing football. But I had 2 good football players that played at Alabama, Lee and Van. Van made All-American kicking football, and Lee did too. They both made All-Americans, and they hold all the records for the 4-year guys that played 4 years. Now they're playing 5 years, and all those records are going to be broken. But they're going to make 2 categories: the guys that kick 4 years and the guys that kick 5 years. That's going to have to be that way because the record is not exactly right. For a guy that plays 5 years, he can kick more points and more field goals too.
Of course. Well, that's great. So you've got some great legacy in your family for sure.
Well, we've just lived a long time. The Lord's blessed us with good health, and we're just hanging in here.
Well, you have a beautiful family and a beautiful facility.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bob. It's so nice to be able to talk to you. So remember, and do never forget, it's not about the destination.
It's all about the journey.
Good afternoon. My name is Nico.
And I'm Shelley.
And we just completed the 1-week Blue Ox endorsement training.
And when we started on this journey, we said, what is Blue Ox going to do for us? I came up with, I feel like it's going to catapult us, and you said,
It's like
slingshot, and we couldn't be happier because we absolutely have reached a new level and feel more confident and have a lot more knowledge. If you want to level up, this is the place to be.
The knowledge gained during this week will pay huge dividends for our small business as we move ahead with the Blue Ox Endorsed team.